Hello, this is Sydney Graff, and this is my EDL 901 Module 7 assignment, Systems Designer. So we are going to be looking at a technology infrastructure audit or a TIA. The purpose of performing a technology infrastructure audit is to create an inventory of hard assets and measure usage to ensure administration is spending funds on the resources that are having the biggest impact in the district. So this is something that Brown noted in her article, as well as discussion points around assessing technology operations, classroom technology, infrastructure design, staffing, and data flow. So, in order to conduct an appropriate TIA, the first step that needs to be completed is forming a committee. Important members of this committee include stakeholders, building level leadership and staff, district level leadership, and those with specific knowledge towards the district and its technology uses and practices. These members are all intentionally chosen for this committee. As Hanover's research highlights, a principal's influence extends throughout many school functions. They're able to engage and manage staff, lead and monitor curriculum, allocate resources, and respond to our stakeholders, to name a few. However, Hanover also points out that distributing leadership across the school can help facilitate implementation, hence the need for strong teachers and students to be a part of this committee as well. As for the other members mentioned here on the slide, we need our CFO to ensure we're being fiscally responsible, our tech leaders that have a knowledge base that no one else does on the team, and the superintendent who will continuously ensure that the mission and vision of the district is being reflected in the committee's conversations and decisions. So, regular communications, strong leadership, and a commitment to the district's overall mission will help ensure that technology is used as an integral tool for enhancing learning outcomes throughout the district and that this audit is done correctly. By focusing on the district's mission, this team can create a clearly defined vision for the audit to help guide them in their findings and decisions. So, as we come together as a committee, we'll need several categories in order to intentionally focus ourselves. The first of these categories is the network. To truly understand our network, we would first need to establish an inventory of all of our network's assets, which would include hardware, software, and all devices that are connected to our network. This can be a daunting task, but if it has never been done, it may surprise us at how much we have and are or are not using. So, we would then need to conduct vulnerability assessments to identify areas of weakness within the network or potential entry points for cyber threats. We would also want to verify that data backups are regularly performed and can be restored effectively. In addition to all of these things, we would need to ensure our network's compliance with relevant laws and regulations, such as FERPA for student data protection. Knowing all of this information will give the committee a good picture of where we are currently at and potential directions on where to go next to strengthen our network overall. Another category to look into is connectivity. A component of this to consider a component of this is to consider the current infrastructure to ensure it effectively supports educational and administrative needs. The committee would then need to evaluate the bandwidth capacity to determine if it meets our current demands. In doing so, we would need to consider factors such as the number of devices, applications, and simultaneous users. And in a district of our size, that could be quite a bit. We would also want to verify that network security measures such as firewalls are correctly in place. The committee would need to conduct a network assessment on coverage of the area as well as signal strength to make sure that it's adequate in all areas of the district, not just some. The overall goal would be to identify where we can improve to ensure strong connectivity for effective teaching and learning. Security and privacy is another category that I personally believe is one of the most important categories, especially when it comes to keeping our youth safe. We must safeguard sensitive data and protect the well being of our students and staff. A piece of this part of the audit would include a thorough review of our data protection policies, BOE policies, and ensure compliance with relevant regulations, assessing the effectiveness of our current access controls, and ensuring that only those authorized can, in fact, access sensitive information is also key in this part of the audit. We also need to determine if our staff and students are well informed about best practices and potential risks. This could include looking into how we educate everyone at different levels on cybersecurity, and spam identification, to name a few. So, in addition to this, we would need to make sure that our response plan for when an incident does occur is strong and is able to be adjusted based on needs and infractions that occur. So continuing on with the audit, when the committee considers devices, we would need to first look at what we have and appropriately weigh whether it's best to continue with what we have and gradually replace them over time or select new devices. If we choose to select new devices, the large consideration in this should be learning objectives and the mission and/or vision of the district. It would be important to test several different devices and pilot their use in real time within a classroom setting. This would ensure that they're functional with our online components of teaching and learning. Other factors such as cost, durability, usability, age appropriateness, and accessibility for all should also be considered when choosing a device. If we were to determine the need to go with new devices, the committee would also want to ensure that there is a detailed and very robust plan in place for the implementation of these new devices. So moving into device use, once a device, or rather devices, have been chosen, we have to consider how all of these elements work together, all while ensuring safety and security of our students and staff. Things such as the use of single sign-on, badge or fob access to printers, and how data systems communicate with one another will all need to be considered. The committee will need to ensure that everyone has appropriate access to the right devices and in a timely manner. There will also need to be a plan put in place for how all of these devices will be managed, such as who will do this, what does that entail, and what are the different timelines for turnaround when that's occurring. This team will also need to note how the district intends to keep an inventory of current and new devices, as well as how the district will roll out instructions to staff and students on use of the devices. And finally, for the last category, the committee will also be tasked with assessing the capabilities of the technology devices in the district. First, we'll need to ensure that they align with educational goals, support curriculum objectives, and foster engaging learning experiences. We'll want to consider how the devices are compatible with areas such as email, school and district websites, online learning, remote accessibility, response to wireless internet, etc. These devices will also have to be compatible with the existing or new infrastructure and the software in use to ensure that seamless integration. The committee will also need to support devices that can accommodate the evolving needs and future growth of the district in regard to the use of technological devices. So with all of that being said, let's take a look at our current BOE policy, our Board of Ed policy. There are two main sections that would need to be included for sure in the TIA and that audit. Those are sections I and section D. You can see on my slide that I have policies IIBF, IIBG, IIBGA, IIBGB, and IIBGC listed under section I. These policies cover acceptable use guidelines, monitoring, internet safety, penalties for improper use, the use of district computers and devices, privacy rights, copyright, installation, hardware, audits, email privacy rights, ownership, lost, stolen, or damaged computer and equipment, Children's Internet Protection Act, application and guidelines for online learning, and staff online activities. So a lot of different things are covered in those policies. And you can see that under section D, I listed out DJE, DJEB, DJED, and DIC. I felt these were important to include because they cover inventories, purchasing, and quality control. So all of these policies are important to note when the committee is working on this audit. So after looking through our current policy, there are a few changes that I would maybe like to see. Some are additions, some are updates. I would like to see something within our board policy on expectations around digital citizenship. I was not able to find anything specific to this anywhere, and as I know also from previous assignments, there really is no expectation, which to me is not following our district's mission statement, which is to educate all learners for lifelong success. Part of success in our world today is understanding what it means to be a good digital citizen and model it for others around you as well. I would also like to see something noting the need for cyber insurance and its purpose. We would need to ensure that we select a policy that fits our needs and aligns with our risk, but this would help us mitigate potential financial losses that would result from things like cyber attacks, data breaches, and other cybersecurity incidents. So, an area of the BOE policy that I would like to see updated is the policy around plagiarism. With technology growing at a rapid rate, there are things right now, such as AI, that are certainly present in our classrooms. Rather than embracing its use in a productive manner and teaching our students how to do that, many districts are frustrated by this tool, but they don't have any clear guidance around how to use it. And then in turn, they also don't have clear guidance on any penalties for its use. So, if that is the direction our district goes and that this committee decides, that would be an area to look at updating for sure. So, here are my references listed out that I used. And with that, I thank you for tuning in and listening to my assignment presentation. Thanks.